I killed a man once, not with my hands, but with a single lie that burned hotter than the warehouse fire it ignited. My son, little Tommy, with his map of scars across his face like a war veteran's tattoos, came home that day whispering, "Dad, they say I'm a freak because of you." And as I hugged him tight, feeling those ridges under my palm, I knew the truth. The bully at school, that smug little shit named Jake Harlan, was the spawn of the devil who'd lit the match on our lives 10 years ago. But I smiled at Tommy, ruffled his hair, and said, "Nah, kid. Freaks are the ones who hide what they did." That night, I sharpened my knife, not the literal kind, but the one forged in federal prison, the one that whispers revenge like a lover's promise. It started in the Rust Belt ghost town of Youngstown, Ohio, back when the steel mills still coughed smoke into the sky like dying giants. I was Monroe Hale, 32 and cocky as hell, running a trucking outfit that hauled scrap metal for the big boys in Pittsburgh. Life was good, a split-level rancher on Elm Street. Tommy just a toddler with chubby cheeks and a laugh that could melt the Ohio winter. My wife, Lena, waitressed at the diner on Market Square, her tips buying us those rare steaks on Fridays. We weren't rich, but we were solid, the kind of blue-collar American dream that politicians jerk off to in their speeches. Then Victor Harlan slithered into my world. He was the new sales rep from the mill, all slicked-back hair and Boston accent that screamed, trust fund kid slumming it. We met over beers at the VFW hall, him buying rounds like he owned the joint. "Monroe," he'd say, clapping my shoulder, "you're wasting your ass on these halls. I've got connections, real money. We partner up, flip some of that scrap overseas, and boom, you're looking at 6 figures." I laughed it off at first. Victor was the type who wore cologne that cost more than my truck payment, but damn if he wasn't charming. He talked like he knew secrets, like he could hand you the keys to the kingdom if you just played along. The betrayal hit like a sucker punch on a foggy November morning. We'd been skimming, nothing major, just rerouting loads to a fence in Cleveland for extra cash. Victor handled the books. I drove the rigs. Harmless, until the feds raided the yard. Turns out, those overseas flips were shipping contaminated steel laced with God knows what toxins. The kind that poisoned rivers and got kids in Appalachia with cancers that ate them from the inside out. Victor had cooked the manifests, pinned it all on me. Environmental terrorism, the prosecutor called it at trial. I got 20 years in Allenwood, federal lockup, while Victor walked with a slap on the wrist and a new gig in Chicago. But the real knife twist? The fire. That night before the raid, Victor called me frantic. "Monroe, the heat's on. Ditch the evidence, torch the warehouse." I trusted him, the idiot I was. Drove out there with a can of gas, lit it up thinking we were covering tracks. The place went up like dry tinder, but Tommy, God, my boy, was in the back seat asleep, the car seat too close to the flames when a spark jumped. Lena screamed as she yanked him out, his little face blistering before the ambulance came. Doctors said 3rd-degree burns, skin grafts for years. Victor? He vanished into witness protection whispers, emerging years later as some hotshot consultant in D.C., married to a lobbyist with a son in private school. Prison hardened me like bad concrete. I read law books till my eyes bled, appealed every denial, got out on good behavior after 12. Emerged a ghost. Lena had filed papers while I rotted. Remarried a plumber who treated Tommy like his own. They stayed in Youngstown, but I drifted west to Cleveland, piecing together odd jobs, mechanic gigs, night security at abandoned factories. Kept tabs on Victor through old mill buddies. Harlan, that snake, had climbed, now VP at a green energy firm, preaching sustainability while his kid, Jake, terrorized middle schoolers at St. Ignatius Academy in Shaker Heights. Tommy was 12 when the bullying started. A calls from the school counselor. He's withdrawn. Mr. Hale. The other boys. They mock his scars. I drive the 2 hours from Cleveland. Sit in the principal's office smelling like cheap coffee and regret. It's just boys being boys, they'd say. But I knew Jake Harlan's handiwork. Videos circulated on Snapchat. Tommy's face photoshopped onto monsters. Captions like, "Fire boy lights up lunch." Lena begged me to stay out of it. "Monroe, you're poison. Let it go." But every time I hung up, Victor's face floated up. That frozen smile from the VFW. The shock came at the spring PTA barbecue. One of those forced festive affairs in the Academy's manicured quad, white tents, potato salad sweating in the May sun, dads in khakis grilling brats like they owned the world. I wasn't invited. Technically, Tommy lived with Lena and her new husband, but I'd finagled a +1 as a family friend. Slipped in through the side gate, nursing a solo cup of flat beer. Eyes locked on Jake. The kid was Victor's clone, tall for 13, blonde hair gelled back, laughing with his posse as they tossed a football. Tommy huddled by the dessert table, picking at a brownie, his scars catching the light like silver threads. Then it happened. Jake lobbed the ball too hard, accidentally clipping Tommy's ear, sending him stumbling into a folding chair. Laughter rippled. I tensed, knuckles white, but held back. Patience, my prison mantra. Jake sauntered over, smirking. "Watch it, Scarface. You gonna cry to Daddy's ghost?" Tommy flushed, eyes down. That's when Victor appeared, striding from the grill line, plate of ribs in hand, all corporate polish in his polo and loafers. "Jake, what the hell?" But as he helped Tommy up, grabbing his shoulder, something shifted. Victor's eyes locked on my boy's face, the scars blooming pink under the scrutiny. His fork clattered to the grass. The color drained from him like he'd seen Medusa. "Jesus. Those marks," he muttered, hand trembling as he traced the air inches from Tommy's cheek. Frozen. Utterly mouth agape. Ribs forgotten. The king of the barbecue reduced to a statue. I stepped from the shadows then, casual as a summer breeze. "Recognize him, Vic? Same ones you gave him that night you hung me out to dry." His head snapped up, eyes wild, like a cornered fox. The quad noise faded, kids shrieking, moms chatting, into a distant hum. "Monroe," he whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. "You're out." I nodded, slow, letting the weight settle. Jake tugged his dad's sleeve. "Who's this freak?" "Dad." Victor didn't answer, just stared, the shock rooting him deeper. In that moment, I tasted it, revenge's first bitter sip. But oh, it was just the aperitif. The main course? I'd make him choke on every lie. That night, back in my Cleveland efficiency, peeling wallpaper, a mattress on the floor, I pored over files I'd smuggled from prison connections. Victor's rise wasn't clean, whispers of insider trading, bribing regulators for his green contracts. The scars on Tommy? They weren't just physical. My boy stuttered now, flinched at loud noises, dreamed of flames licking his crib, Lena called. Hysterical. What did you do? Victor's lawyered up already, says you're harassing his family. I laughed. Low and hollow. Harassing? Lena. That man's the reason our son's a punchline. I'm fixing it. She hung up, but I heard the fear, the old love flickering like embers. Victor reached out 2 days later. A burner phone ping from a DC number. We need to talk. Coffee. Neutral ground, Akron. Tomorrow. I agreed. Heart pounding like AV8 on overdrive. Drove the 4 down I-77. Windows down. Wind whipping the regret from my bones. The diner was a relic, Formica counters. Jukebox crooning Springsteen. He slid into the booth opposite. No suit this time, just jeans and a hoodie. Eyes darting like he expected feds. Monroe. Listen. Save it. I cut in. Voice steel. You torched my life for a promotion. Now your boy's paying the tab. He leaned forward. Palms up, classic schmooze. It wasn't like that. The feds had us both. I flipped to save my skin.
Tommy.
God. I didn't know he was there. Lies. All of it. But his shock at the scars? That was real. He'd buried it deep. The guilt. But seeing those marks cracked the vault. I slid a photo across. Tommy's medical file. Graphs and therapy bills totaling 6 figures. You owe Vic. Not just money, everything. He swallowed hard, glancing at the door. What do you want? Name it. I smiled. The kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Your world. Harlan. Piece by piece. That's when the scheming started, his mind whirring like a bad transmission. He flipped first, offered a payoff. Wired to an offshore account. Walk away. Monroe. For the kid. But I saw the calculation. By time. Lawyer up. Bury me again. I took the cash. $50,000. But it was bait. Used it to hire a PI. Dig into his DC.
Dirt.
Weeks blurred. Stakeouts in Shaker Heights. Watching Jake's lacrosse practices. Victor's late nights at the office. Tommy's bullying escalated. Locker graffiti. Anonymous texts. Burn in hell. Mutant. School did jack. Elite academy. Harlan money greased palms. I confronted Jake once. After practice. Rain sheeting the field. Your old man's a coward, I said, water dripping from my jacket. The kid sneered. Better than a jailbird daddy. Punched me square in the gut, 14 now. Fists like his father's ambition. I let him. Tasting blood. Filing it away. Victor flipped again at our second meet. A seedy motel off the turnpike. You're unhinged.
Hail.
Back off. Or I'll have you recommitted. Threat empty. Parole clean, but the venom?
Pure panic.
He'd seen the scars. Remembered the fire he'd ordered. The screams echoing in his nightmares. I pressed, leaked a tip to an EPA contact about his firm's falsified emissions reports. Nothing stuck, but it rattled him, stock dipped. Bored whispers. He countered sly, anonymous call to my PO. Claiming violations. I danced the line. Jobs intact. But close. The tension coiled like barbed wire. Lena showed up at my door one rainy Thursday. Tommy in tow. His backpack slung low. He's skipping school. Says Jake threatened to finish what the fire started. My boy looked up. Scars pale against flesh skin.
Dad.
Is it true? You burned it all. Heart shattered. I knelt. I level. No.
Champ.
A bad man did. But I'm making it right. Hugged him fierce. Lena watching with that mix of pity and fire. Don't drag him into your war, Monroe. But she left him with me for the weekend, trust. Fragile as glass. That weekend broke me open like a rusted hull. Tommy and I fish Lake Erie at dawn. The water flat as regret. Perch nibbling our lines. He didn't talk much. Trauma's a quiet thief, but when he did, it was barbs. Mom says you're angry all the time. Like the Hulk, but with tattoos. I chuckled, reeling in a keeper, its scales glinting silver. Prison ink crawled up my arms, a phoenix on my bicep. Flames licking the edges, ironic.
Now.
Anger's fuel.
Tommy.
Keeps the cold out. He poked his own scars.
Tentative.
Do they hurt less now? I shook my head.
Nah.
But they remind me, survive. Back home, we grilled dogs on my fire escape, irony again. Flames dancing in the grill, while I spun yarns of pre-prison Monroe, road trips to Cedar Point. Lena's meatloaf Sundays. He laughed. Real and rare. But shadows lingered. Night fell. He crashed on the couch. Nightmares jerking him awake, yelling, fire. I held him then, rocking like he was 5. Whispering, it's over. Daddy's here. But it wasn't. Victor's texts buzzed my phone. Stay away from my family. I replied, your family's mine now. The scheming escalated. Victor, that chameleon, flipped to ally mode next, email from a ghost account. I can help. Get you a job at the firm. Clean slate.
Bait.
Obvious. But I bit. Met him in a Columbus high-rise. His office all glass and views of the Scioto. He poured scotch. Neat to old times. We talk like brothers. Him spinning tales of regret. How the betrayal haunted him. Seeing Tommy. It gutted me.
Monroe.
Let me make amends. Sign me on as logistics consultant, irony gold, $80K salary. Benefits. Tommy's school fees covered. Therapy bumped up. Lena thawed. Maybe you're growing up. But Victor's flips were a carousel from hell. 2 months in, leaks hit, my prison record accidentally emailed to clients. Firings whispered. I confronted him in the parking garage. Rain hammering the concrete like accusations. You son of a bitch. He smirked. Umbrella twirling. Business. Monroe. You were a liability. Shoved him against the BMW. Forearm to throat. First real violence since lockup. I end you. But his eyes? Not fear, glee. Almost. Like he'd won the flip. Cops called by security. I walked on a warning. But the damage stuck. Fired next day. Blackballed in the industry. Rage boiled over. I went dark. Ditched the phone. Holed up in a Youngstown motel that smelled of mothballs and despair. Hired hackers off dark web forums, cheap Russian kids who cracked Victor's emails for pennies. Goldmine, correspondence with senators, bribes funneled through PACs. His green firm dumping sludge in the Monongahela under falsified permits. The crime I'd borne? Peanuts compared to this, corporate poison. Cancers in mill towns mirroring our old life. And the secret buried deepest. Victor hadn't just framed me. He'd impregnated Lena before the raid. A one-night slip during a celebration bender. Tommy's blood type? O negative. Like Victor's. Not my AB. The boy wasn't mine by genes, but by scars? All mine. Shock hit like vertigo. Stared at the motel mirror. My reflection fracturing. The betrayed husband. The false father. The vengeful ghost. Called Lena. Voice steel wool. Tell me about Victor. That night you two. Silence. Then sobs. It was nothing. Monroe.
A mistake.
Tommy's yours, always. But biology doesn't lie. The twist gutted deeper than betrayal. Victor, the snake, had seeded my son, then burned us both. No wonder the scars froze him. They were his legacy, etched in fire he'd ordered. Decisions piled. Controversial as a Trump rally in Blue, Ohio. Confront Tommy? Rip open his world at 13? No, protect the kid. Even if it meant carrying the lie solo. Leak Victor's stir anonymously? Ruin the man. But splash back on Jake. The bully who'd inherited the venom? I flipped my own coin. Mercy or mayhem. Chose the gray. Partial leaks to a Pittsburgh Post-Gazette stringer. Enough to spike Victor's stock, but not sink it.
Firm investigated.
Hearing scheduled. Victor called. Panicked. You bastard. My career. I laughed. Welcome to my world. Vic. The tension peaked at Tommy's school play, a sanitized our town in the auditorium. All earnest kids in sepia costumes. I sat rear row. Lena beside her plumber hubby. Victor front and center with Jake fidgeting. Tommy played the stage manager. Voice steady despite the lights catching his scars like spotlights. Jake heckled from the wings. Cue the pyrotechnics. Scarface. Laughter tittered. Post-curtain. Parents milling in the lobby, punch bowls. Awkward hugs. Victor cornered me by the trophy case. Enough.
Monroe.
Meet me after. We end this. The after was a dive bar off Euclid. Neon buzzing, cold beer like a migraine. Victor waited in a booth. Half drunk on IPAs. Tie loose. Truce, he slurred. Sliding a check, $200K. For Tommy. College. Whatever. I pocketed it. But eyes cold. Truce? You fucked my wife. Framed me. Scarred my son. His face crumpled. The flip to vulnerability. Lena. It was booze. Regret. I never meant. I slammed the table. Glasses rattling. Meant? You meant every lie. Barflies glanced, tension thick as fog. He leaned in, voice low. What if I confess? All of it, the bribes, the fire. You walk free. Fully. The offer hung. Controversial fork. Accept. Let karma's slow grind win. Or push for blood. I saw Tommy's face in the play lights. Scars shining, innocent in the crossfire.
Prove it, I said.
Sign the statement.
Now.
He did. Pen shaking. Notary from the bar's back office. But as ink dried, his eyes sharpened, the schemer resurfacing. One condition, you disappear. No more leaks. I nodded, but inside, the knife twisted. That statement? My ace. But playing it meant dragging Tommy through courts, paternity tests, the whole ugly American circus. Driving back, wipers slapping rain, doubt gnawed. Victor's flips had worn me thin, ally, enemy, confessor. Was I any better? The boy I raised wasn't blood, but love's thicker. Called the PI, Tail Harlan. Full spectrum. Reports flooded. Victor lawyering up again. Shredding files. Coaching Jake on family loyalty. The bully escalated, slashed Tommy's bike tires. Whispered threats in hall lockers. School suspended him a day. Harlan money bought it down to a warning. Lena confronted me at a Tim Hortons off by 271, steam from our coffees curling like accusations. Monroe. Stop. Victor called, says you're obsessed. I slid the confession across. Her eyes widened, then tears.
This.
It ends everything. For him, I said. Not us. She touched my hand. Old spark. Tommy needs a father, not a vigilante. But as she left, I saw the fracture. Her life with the plumber. Safe but stale. Betrayal's echo. The climax brewed in a Harlan family barbecue, irony's cruel joke, at their McMansion in Hunting Valley. Manicured lawns rolling to the Chagrin River. Victor invited me. Neutral ground, email said. Bring Tommy. Let's bury it. I did. Suit pressed. Boy scrubbed clean. Jake sneered at a rival. Brought the circus? But Victor? Effusive host, handshakes, ribs on the grill, beers cracked. Parents chatted climate change. Kids cannonballed the pool. Tommy splashed with the others. Scars hidden underwater. A rare grin. Then, dusk fell. Fireflies winking like lies. Victor pulled me aside. To the boathouse, shadows deep. River lapping wood. The confession? Shredded it.
Sorry.
Old friend. Flip again, smug now. Checkbook out. Take the money. Walk. Rage ignited. Hotter than that warehouse blaze. You think cash erases this? Grabbed his collar. Shoved him against the wall. Thuds echoing. He laughed. Bitter. You're nothing.
Monroe.
Ex-con. Cuckold dad. I built this empire on your ashes. The decision hit. Polarizing as a divided nation. Kill him here. River his grave. Or expose. Tommy's laugh carried from the pool. Innocent. Mine by choice. I released Victor. Stepped back. You're done. Walked out. But not before palming his phone from the patio table. Quick slight. Prison honed. Inside. Text to a fixer. Handle hail. Permanent. The snake had ordered my hit. Adrenaline surged like bad moonshine as I peeled out of Hunting Valley. Victor's phone burning in my pocket. Tommy buckled in shotgun silent. Dad, you okay? His small hand on my arm. Anchor in the storm. Yeah. Champ. Just tying loose ends. Dropped him at Lena's. Kissed his forehead. Love you.
Kid.
Always. Her eyes questioned from the porch light. But I drove into the night. I-90 east toward Pennsylvania line. Mind racing scenarios. Victor's fixer? Hired muscle. Probably. Ex-cops on parole. The American way. I had the phone's GPS pinging a meet. Warehouse district in Erie. 2 a.m. Full circle. Flames and all. Ditched my Ford 2 miles out. Hoofed it through chain-link shadows. Air thick with lake rot. The warehouse loomed. Abandoned cannery. Windows shattered like teeth. Slipped inside. Crates for cover. Heart-hammering Springsteen rhythms. Victor arrived in a black Escalade. Headlights cutting fog. 2 goons flanking. Burly types. Shoulder holsters bulging. Hail slippery, he barked. Voice tinny through the phone's speaker-eyed left recording. Make it look like a robbery. No traces. I watched from rafters. Dust motes dancing in beams, poetic. Almost. The betrayal peaked here. Full bloom, not just me, but Tommy's future he'd snuff. Goons fanned out. Flashlights sweeping. Victor paced, muttering, should have ended it in 13. That's when I dropped, boots, thudding crates. A shadow in the gloom. Too late for should'ves. Vic. Chaos erupted. Goons drew. But I was faster, prison shiv from my boot, slashing one's hamstring. He howled,
Dropping.
The other lunged. I sidestepped. Cracked his knee with a pipe scavenged from debris. Victor bolted for the door. But I tackled him, gravel biting our rolls. For Tommy, I growled, fist connecting jaw, crunch like fresh snow. He fought dirty, nails raking my eye, knee to gut. We grappled, breaths ragged, the warehouse a coliseum of echoes. Goons groaned, out but stirring. Victor spat blood. You think this wins? Jake's my heir, better than your mongrel. The slur ignited, mongrel. My boy. Pinned him. Shiv at throat. Sign it all over. Company. Assets. To Tommy Hale. His laugh bubbled red. Never. Flip final. Pleading now. Monroe.
Mercy.
For old times. Eyes locked. His the frozen shock from the barbecue. Scars reflected back. The climax decision. Polarizing as original sin.
Kill him.
Vengeance pure. But orphan Jake. Cycle the bully? Or mercy? Let law grind. But risk his countersnake? Sirens wailed distant. Goons' phones auto-dialed 911. Time bled. I pressed the blade. Skin parting pearl white, no gore. Just pressure. Confess. Live. He nodded. Broken. Cuffed him with zip ties from the goon's kit. Phone recording his whimper. I framed Monroe Hale. The fire. The bribes, all me. Uploaded to the cloud. Anonymous dropped to feds and press. Cops swarmed. Lights strobing like Judgment Day. I slipped out a side vent. Ghost again.
Hitchhiked west.
Victor arrested on site. Confession viral by dawn. Headlines screaming Green XX toxic empire crumbles. Firm imploded. Stocks tanked. Senators scrambling. Jake, pulled from academy. Family scattered. Irony's quiet revenge. But the twist? Back in Cleveland. DNA kit from a pharmacy. Swabbed Tommy's cheek while he slept post-nightmare. Mailed it. Anonymous. Results pinged a week later. 99.9% match, Victor. Biology lied? No, lab error. Or Victor's bluff to wound. Tommy was mine. Scars and soul. The secret buried deeper. Forgiveness edge. Confronted Lena. He's ours. Tears. Embrace, plumber out. Us rebuilding.
Tentative.
Victor flipped one last time in court, plea deal. 10 years, white collar. Testified against cronies. Emerged reformed. TED Talk on redemption 6 months post-release.
Jake?
Straightened. Oddly, apologized to Tommy via letter. Sorry for the scars I added. Polarizing end. Victor's empire dust. But he lives. Scheming podcasts now.
Me?
Custody shared. Tommy thriving, scars faded. Not forgotten.
Revenge?
Bittersweet. Like Ohio steel. Forged hot. Cooled hard. Was I right? Hero or villain debated over beers. I saved my son. Shattered a snake. But the fire's ash lingers. In America, justice twists like backroads, no clean wins. Just survivors. Tommy asks sometimes, fishing pole in hand, Dad, you regret it. I ruffle his hair. Scars soft now.
Nah. Kid.
Wouldn't change a spark.